Imagine, if you will, an artist whose canvas was the battlefield and whose masterpiece was, quite literally, invisibility itself. We find ourselves in December of 1944, deep within the Ardennes forest. German soldiers, dressed in these white-painted uniforms, move silently through the snow-covered pines, nearly invisible to the unsuspecting American defenders. Then, in a devastating instant, the silence shatters. What the Allies couldn't see nearly changed the course of the war. During World War II, the science of invisibility wasn't merely about hiding. It was, honestly, a sophisticated interplay of art, psychology, and optical science. What if I told you that unseen brushstrokes, strategically placed patterns, and carefully chosen earth tones silently altered the fate of empires? Welcome to The Lost Tactician, where today we uncover the hidden science behind warfare's greatest illusion, the art of disappearing. You know, WWII camouflage was far more than just paint splattered across uniforms. It was deliberate science, really rooted in understanding how the human eye processes information and recognizes shapes. Military strategists discovered that the eye picks up patterns and silhouettes, the distinctive outline of a head, torso, and limbs. By disrupting these patterns, they could effectively render the visible invisible, all through clever visual misdirection. A soldier standing alone might be spotted instantly, but one covered in competing patches and splotches would, well, vanish into the landscape. The key was destroying recognizable shape, not perfectly matching the environment. A tank painted with jagged lines of multiple earth tones might not match any specific landscape, but from a distance, an observer's brain would actually struggle to determine where the tank ended and the ground began. This revolutionary understanding emerged not from military tradition, but from nature itself. Evolution had already perfected the art of invisibility, and WWII's camouflage experts became dedicated students of nature's lessons. The origins of modern camouflage science, believe it or not, trace back to painter and naturalist Abbot Henderson Thayer, who in the late 19th century made a rather startling observation while studying animal coloration. Thayer recognized that animals employed sophisticated optical principles to defeat predator vision. He coined the term countershading, observing that creatures with darker backs and lighter bellies appeared remarkably flat and two-dimensional. The overhead sunlight casting shadows would typically create depth, but lighter bellies visually compensated for shadow, resulting in creatures appearing almost as flat as painted silhouettes. Equally important was Thayer's understanding of disruptive coloration. Leopards, jaguars, and various birds broke their body outlines into patches of competing colors. Rather than matching backgrounds, these creatures achieved invisibility through fragmentation. Their spotted patterns forced predators' eyes to see not unified animals, but collections of abstract shapes. This principle became foundational to WWII design. The third principle came from the zebra's stripes. Far from being camouflage, zebra stripes employ dazzle camouflage. High contrast black and white patterns create optical confusion, making it nearly impossible for predators to calculate speed, direction, or location. When viewed from distance or in motion, competing patterns misdirect the observer's brain. This concept would become weaponized on unprecedented scales. Military experts absorbed these nature-based lessons and transformed them into tactical doctrine. Breaking up the silhouette was paramount. A soldier covered in competing patches would vanish into open terrain where a single-colored uniform would stand out. A tank painted with jagged lines of multiple earth tones would have its outline dissolve into abstraction, rendering the threat effectively invisible. The German army's splitter pattern consisted of irregular splashes of tan, green and brown, meticulously crafted to dissolve hard edges of equipment in European forests. Variants existed for different seasons, white and grey for snow, ochre and pale yellow for desert. The British developed disruptive pattern material with larger flowing patches of green and brown designed across diverse terrains. American forces created frogskin camouflage with organic, irregular patches resembling dappled leaf shadows. Each pattern represented countless hours of study and field testing by military artists and scientists who, rarely received public recognition. These were individuals who collaborated with zoologists, understanding that breaking shapes into competing patterns was fundamentally different from just matching backgrounds. They experimented with colors, angles, and proportions, testing patterns against forest, desert, and urban environments across different light conditions. The scope extended far beyond uniforms. Military vehicles were painted according to the same principles. Entire buildings were covered with elaborate patterns to render factories invisible from above. Aircraft themselves bore designs intended to create dazzle effects, making it difficult for enemy pilots to judge course and speed during dogfights. Invisibility, by this point, had become an industrial-scale operation. The Battle of the Bulge in December 1944 stands as the most dramatic example of camouflage's tactical impact. German forces employed white-painted uniforms and vehicles, achieving remarkable success in moving large formations through snow-covered forest without detection. American observers scanning landscapes for distinctive enemy silhouettes saw only white fields. The eye, primed to search for contrasting shapes, became effectively blind to carefully camouflaged columns. Entire divisions moved undetected, and the initial assault caught American forces dangerously unprepared. The North African campaign presented entirely different challenges. Under harsh desert sun with sharp shadows and intense daylight, German forces employed patterns heavy in ochre and pale yellow, designed to merge with sand and bleached rock. Tank commanders quickly learned that accumulated dust and sand mattered as much as paint color. Smart units, quite simply, employed practical camouflage techniques alongside painted patterns, ensuring equipment aged to match the surrounding desert. Beyond technical specifications, camouflage possessed powerful psychological dimensions. A soldier who successfully hid experienced profound confidence boosts. Conversely, enemies unable to locate opponents suffered demoralizing uncertainty. A unit that appeared and disappeared seemingly at will could exert influence far beyond its actual numbers. German forces strategically used effective camouflage to create impressions of larger forces. The element of surprise granted by invisibility could overcome numerical disadvantages. WWII camouflage principles didn't vanish with the war. They became foundational to every military doctrine that followed. The fundamental insight that disrupting silhouettes through competing patterns was more effective than environmental matching remains central to modern design. Every soldier wearing digital camouflage employs principles WWII designers developed nearly 80 years ago. Yet technology has transformed camouflage in remarkable ways. Digital patterns employ fractals and mathematical principles, creating more complex, disruptive effects than hand-painted designs could achieve. Modern uniforms attempt functioning across multiple environments through engineered compromises in color and pattern. Multispectral camouflage, designed to fool both human eyes and infrared detection systems, represents new frontiers. Perhaps most remarkably, Abbott Henderson Thayer's principles remain as relevant today as ever. Modern soldiers in digital camouflage employ the same optical deception principles governing leopard spots or zebra stripes. Facial paint breaking up distinctive head outlines remains standard practice. Texture and three-dimensional elements like fabric strips and vegetation attached to uniforms continue proving their worth. As we examine past battlefields, we recognize that warfare's greatest innovations often emerge not through powerful weapons or speed, but through understanding human perception. Soldiers who disappeared into seemingly open landscapes, engineers who painted vehicles until invisible in plain sight, designers who understood that abstract patterns disrupted human recognition. These individuals demonstrated that warfare rewards intelligence and observation. Today, as surveillance technology becomes increasingly sophisticated, camouflage principles remain as relevant as ever. Militaries worldwide continue investing because it works. The fundamental truth that they are discovered remains: understanding perception renders the visible invisible. The lost art of WWII camouflage was never truly lost. It evolved, transformed, and became integrated into military thinking worldwide. Every soldier in digital camouflage, every vehicle painted in competing patterns, carries forward the legacy of unsung artists and strategists who discovered that sometimes the most powerful weapon is the one the enemy cannot see. If you found this journey through hidden military tactics fascinating, subscribe to The Lost Tactician for more deep dives into forgotten innovations that shaped our world. Share this video with fellow history enthusiasts and join our community of those who believe understanding the past illuminates the present.